go again. Thank goodness. Ken Lundeen, your host here for the B2B Sales Summit. And I am absolutely thrilled to have Viveka von Rosen. So perfect. So let me embarrass you just a little bit before we get started. I want people to know why they need to tune in, pay attention, grab a pen and a piece of paper and actually write some of this stuff down. So Viveka is the Chief Visibility Officer for Vengresso, as you can see on the back. Vengresso is the largest full-spectrum digital and social selling company in the world. Viveka has contributed to Forbes, Money, Entrepreneur, and when LinkedIn wants somebody to talk to their people about how to sell and how to use social selling, they call Viveka, who is actually a regular contributor to the LinkedIn blogs on how to use social selling. So if that isn't the background that you wanted, she's also trained over 100,000 people. My goodness.
I've been at it a while.
This is awesome. This is awesome. So we are so glad to have you here. You know, and today I think one of the things that's interesting is we're going to talk about how to establish your personal brand by leveraging your company's brand and content. And I'm super excited about this, but I think you need to do something for me first.
Yeah.
Does it matter? I mean, LinkedIn, I mean, it's a resume. It's I mean, talk to me. What's the deal? Does my brand on LinkedIn or any other social apparatus actually matter?
Yes, it does. You know, and you are not alone in thinking, and I don't actually think that you think it's a resume, but thanks for the setup. But you're not alone. There's a lot of salespeople who probably only put up their resume or their LinkedIn profile as a resume when they were looking for their position, and that's exactly how their profile reads, if they have a profile at all. But the fact is, you know, with the buyer's journey, our buyers are researching us. They're researching our company. They're going to Google. And when they type in your name in Google, one of the first things that shows up is your LinkedIn profile. And and here's the fact, your LinkedIn profile is either going to cost you business or drive business to you. And so right now, chances are it's at the very best kind of neutral, or it's so bad that it's actually costing you business. People are researching your company and your products and your services, sure. But if they're going to be engaged in dealing with you, they are looking at you too, right? And so if they go to your profile and it is a resume or worse, or it's non existent, or the imaging is wrong, or it doesn't reflect who you are now, you've lost that credibility and there becomes a sense of distrust there. So it's initially, you need to make sure that your brand looks good on LinkedIn, and then you need to make sure that you are positioning yourself as a person of knowledge, of expertise, and really as a thought leader within your industry. And thankfully, your company could help you with that.
Right.
You know, ideally, we like the sales and the marketing department to chat. And so you might need to be a little proactive when it comes to creating that branding and that messaging on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think people forget one of the biggest things we forget is the idea that SEO works out there and
Yeah,
LinkedIn is getting a big piece of that. So
that's right.
search your own name. And if you're on LinkedIn, LinkedIn probably shows up on one of the first couple pages.
Yeah, usually the first or second result, actually.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's
Well,
scary. I mean, it's as much as I've got out there, and I've got a ton out there. LinkedIn is still the first thing that shows up under my name.
hmm, that's
Yeah,
amazing. As much as
yeah.
you're published and you do those sort of things, that's just dumbfounding to me.
Yeah. It's kind of scary when you think that, oh wait, I haven't looked at LinkedIn since 2007. What are people seeing about me? So your first step, your first action step is to Google yourself, see if if your LinkedIn profile shows up and take a look at what you look like.
Oh no, that's sort of like avoiding the bathroom mirror in the morning sometimes, right?
It so is. That is a perfect analogy, and I'm totally going to borrow that from you from now on.
All right, I got plenty of them. You can use them. You don't even have to give me credit. It's totally cool. It's totally cool. So let's talk about this. So there's a couple
Yep.
things, right?
Yep.
I think there's been a rub between sales and marketing that marketing
Yeah.
should provide us everything, and then there's the sales side of the sales world that's actually
Yeah.
crushing the number, and they're not
Yeah.
making excuses, and they're going to go get this stuff done.
That's
So we
right.
want to empower people. So let's
Yeah.
let's start at the beginning. Tell me, how do I know if my LinkedIn profile actually needs help?
Yeah, so chances are it does. But let's talk about some of the different areas, and I'll give you some resources and some tools that you can use either to create the materials yourself and the copy yourself, or to go to your marketing department and say, "Hey, I can do a lot better at my job and I can represent you and the company better if you just give me these resources."
Yeah.
So the first thing is a background image. Kind of similar to what I have going on right back here with my drop and repeat, right? So
Right.
on LinkedIn, there's also a background image. And similar to what
Yeah.
I have, you want something that represents your area of expertise, your company, your industry. Now, again, you might need to go to marketing and say, am I allowed to use the logo on my background image? Am I allowed to use images from our website on the background image? Hopefully they'll let you. But even if they don't, think about visuals, imagery that reflects your industry. And I mean, maybe you put on, a I'm pulling a complete blank right now. Computers, if you work in the software industry,
Yeah.
maybe we did. A client of mine is in cloud computing, and so we actually put clouds back there, right, with her logo. So think about what reflects your background image. Now, I like to put things like a logo, as I mentioned, but a website, even a phone number. Just be careful because it will be visible to the public. So you have to make sure that you want to be that contactable.
Right.
But those things, because when people go to your profile on LinkedIn, whether it's on your cell phone, your mobile, or whether it's on the browser, the first thing they're going to see, right, is that background image, your picture, and your name and your professional headline. So, at the very least, let's make sure that those things are complete. So, what you want to do, let me give you a couple of resources.
Yeah.
First of all, you can just email your marketing department and say, "Hey, I was listening to this chick. She says I need a background image. I don't know what this means, but she says it needs to be 1384 by 396 pixels. Can you create one for me?" Right? So
Right.
then they can create one for you.
Well, and so let me jump in just real quick. And by
Yeah,
the way, you're allowed. You can cover your ears if you want here. So, as one of our other experts said that I interviewed just the other day,
yeah,
Dan Waldschmidt's got it tattooed on his arm, right? And it
exactly.
says "Go Rogue." Here's what I can tell you as a sales force: if you go out there, follow the advice, and you're crushing the number, they're not going to give you a hard time about using
That's right.
the logo, even if they would have. So, but go ahead. Let's talk
Yeah.
some more about this.
That's funny. Dan's one of my mentors. Dan,
Okay.
the Greenville, right? That
Yep.
small world. Anyway, so yeah, so we also, if you need a template, it's LinkedInbanner.com. We bought the URL. So if you go to LinkedInbanner.com, you can download the template. Um, if you're graphically impaired like I am, which is why you're in sales, not marketing,
Right.
you can go to Fiverr, Fiverr.com, and for $5, they'll create a background image. So get
Mhm.
permission from your company or have your company make one for you. But that background image can really help to differentiate you, make your profile pop, and immediately it looks 100% better than it did before.
Spend the
Uh,
$5 at Fiverr, if nothing else.
yeah,
I'm telling you. Right.
exactly. $5 at Fiverr. I did that for years before we actually had people who could create graphics for us. So it's a great resource. And you know what? If you don't like one, it's only $5 to get another one. So and the thing that's cool about it is you can change them up. It's not one and done unless you want it to be. So maybe like right now, I've got a holiday banner up on my LinkedIn
Yeah.
profile, right? So as things progress, you have new launches, you have new products, you have new services, you can actually create background images to reflect that. So that's number one. Number two, hello, your photo. And if you
Mhm.
haven't been on LinkedIn since 2007, you need a new photo. And if you normally wear glasses and you're not because you look better without glasses, then you need to put the glasses back on and take a photo. If your hairline has
Hey,
diminished a bit, nothing personal.
all right.
Hey, I like a bald man. I'm just saying
That's
it's better than the ridge. That's all I'm saying.
right. That's what I got. Full close. But go ahead. I digress.
There's another strategy point. Shave the ridge.
Yeah.
So but you definitely you want a photo that reflects what you look like because you're going to be going to trade shows or conferences or meeting clients across the desk or meeting clients on Zoom or Skype. And if they're expecting something because they looked at your LinkedIn profile and then you show up and you don't look like that, there's that disconnect there. So
Oh
upload a
man, I'll
photo,
tell you. I mean, I networked
right?
like that for years,
Hmm.
and I'd walk in, and it was amazing. I'd be sitting in a coffee shop, a
Uh,
Starbucks, a Caribou, whatever it was,
yeah,
looking around, and it was literally the picture from 10 years ago,
yeah,
and it would take us like 6, 7 minutes longer to connect because I was just trying to figure out how long ago the picture was.
It's like the world's worst awkward first date, right? It's
Right.
it's like, um, "Are you Ken?"
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So let's alleviate that issue and get your photo up there. Another thing that you can do, and it'll only take you a few minutes, is underneath your name, add your name, obviously, make sure it's spelled correctly, use capitals. Um, but underneath your name is what's called the headline or the professional
Mm,
headline. Now, generally people have title it company, but you actually have 120 characters to expand upon that. So title it company, but what does your company do? Especially if the company name isn't self-explanatory. Hello, Vengresso. What is a Vengresso? Is it a
right,
soup? I
right,
mean, is it a clothing line? I don't know what a Vengresso is, right? So we have to explain that we're a
right.
digital transformation company. So that's, that's what you could do. Viveka Von Ro, yeah, well, you wouldn't have to put your name, but Chief Visibility Officer at Vengresso, colon space, a digital transformation company. Now,
Right.
little ninja trick, if you've got the LinkedIn app on your mobile phone, if you want more than 120 characters, you can actually expand upon that. So you can go a
Hmm.
little bit deeper and address, the people you serve or the types of people you serve or the types of things that
Yeah.
you offer. So you can really expand. But again, 120 to 240 characters, it's not a lot, but it's a lot better than, sales director at ABC Corp. And I don't know what ABC Corp does. That means nothing to me.
Well, we have to think. I think the one thing too that you've always said
Yeah,
is, and that I hear all the time, is we have
yeah,
to make sure that we're thinking high impact, not just
that's
words
right.
and letters for the sake of words and letters.
Exactly right. You know what? If you can get it done in 100, do it at 100. That's
Right.
exactly right. But speaking of impact, if you can naturally bake in some keywords, some search terms, like if someone's searching you on Google, those terms, if you can naturally fit some of those into that headline section, even because it weighs pretty heavily on the search. And then speaking of copy, there's a summary section. Everyone like splits it or they've got the,
Right.
3 lines from their resume. But this is where you tell your story. And then experience is where you tell the company's story. So as a successful salesperson, you already know who your audience is, right? You might need to inform marketing team who your actual audience is. Sometimes there's a disconnect there, but you know who your audience is. You know what their needs are. You know how to solve their points of pain. That's kind of how you do your job. And so that's what you want the summary to talk about,
Yeah.
how you can help people. You can give examples and it's 2,000 characters. So again, it's not a lot. It's about a page, a typewritten
Yeah.
page, but it's 2,000 characters where you can let people know, how you can help them, but also you can give little case studies as long as it's like a short paragraph or so,
Yeah.
where you can give examples of your successes, where you can ask and answer, you can ask the typical question. In fact, I recommend you lead with the question you get asked all the time by like every prospect you've ever talked to. They, other than how much is it going to cost, what is the second question, right, that they ask you,
Right.
and ask and answer that question in the first and second line. That way your prospects can self-identify. Yeah, I do have that question. I have always wondered that. And then
Hmm.
they'll keep reading, right?
Yeah.
And because you can only see the first two lines, so you want them to click on see more. So as my friend Bryn always says, you want to turn your profile from a resume into a resource. And so rather than just putting your work history in the summary section or your goals for yourself, who cares? No one cares. Seriously, no
Right.
one cares.
Right.
You need to tell your audience, your prospects, what you can do for them, how you can serve them. And then you can build on that by adding media. So again, you can go to your website, you can go to your marketing department and say, hey, do we have any videos? Do we have any PowerPoint presentations? Do we have any interviews with the CEO? Do we have any white sheets or white papers or PDFs that I can upload in right into my profile so that people can look at my profile as a resource
Yeah.
that they keep returning to? And that all brings us back to top of mind awareness, because that's the other thing. I mean, ideally, we're using a CRM system, and ideally, we're always remembering our prospects that we're supposed to be working with. Um, Usually not,
Right.
but I fail at that a little bit. But how about if we could stay top of mind with our prospects so that when the time comes that they need our product or service, they think of us
Yeah.
because they've been ingrained with that profile, and they see us speaking to them directly. So that's powerful. And then there's the experience section where you can take the about us section from your company if you want to, from the company website. And that, if you do just that on your profile, It sounds like a lot, I know, but it might take you like an hour, 2 hours total,
Yeah.
and then you don't really have to touch it again until there's a big change in the company or there's a big change in your life or something amazing happens and you want that reflected in the summary section. So a 2-hour investment could have a significant payoff.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about you talking this through is I was actually looking at my own profile and asking myself the question, is
Yeah.
anybody watching the damn videos that I'm putting up, right? They're supposed
Right.
to get better distribution. It looks like
Right.
6 people are seeing them.
Yeah.
Well, I asked myself that question 1 week after I kind of start posting these quick
Yeah.
1-minute tips,
Yeah.
and I got 2 incoming prospects who said, "Hey, you know what? You look like you're by Lake Lanier. I'm by Lake Lanier. Let's get together." Another
Yeah.
one, "Hey, you look like you're here." So all of a sudden, it's interesting because
Yeah.
it proves your point. People are going to it. They are seeing
Yeah.
the content, even if you're not aware of it until they actually reach out to you.
Yeah.
And that was dumbfounding for me because the video both these guys commented on, I don't know, it looked like it got 12 people in the world to look at it. But
Yeah, yeah, and yet somehow 2 of the 12 were actually good prospects.
yeah, it was just that's just insane. So
Yeah,
talk to me a little bit. One of the things I want to make sure that we delve into, because I think we avoid it a lot in sales, is
yeah,
how can we use some more of marketing
yeah.
resources? I mean, what's your advice to get some more corporate resources so we don't have to grind the whole thing out?
Oh, right, exactly. I mean, and let's face it, most salespeople aren't content creators. You're not gonna go and write a blog,
Right.
right? But, if you had some good content, you could at least describe it and then share it. You could become a curator if you're not a content creator yourself. And
Yeah.
hopefully, right, your company is creating content for you to share, videos, blog posts, etc. If they are not, you can go to your marketing department and say, hey, I know we've got a blog, or I think we should probably have a blog. Um, and these are the questions I get asked over and over and over again. In fact, I was on the phone yesterday with a prospect, and he asked me this and this, and I said, I answered the question on the phone, but I was thinking this would be a great
Yeah.
article. So, could you write an article up? Or, I can record my answer for you and you can type that up. I
Yeah.
can record it on my phone. You can get it transcribed. Like if you feed them with the information that you need in order to help close that sale, they're
Yeah.
probably willing to do it. They just might not actually know what it is that the sales team needs or that you as an individual sales professional needs.
Yeah.
Um, one of my favorite little things, and Bernie and Mario both do this, is when we see a prospect that we want to engage with, especially if they're pretty high level, CEO, CMO, etc. We'll have them on our podcast.
Yeah.
So here's a way for us to engage with our key prospects and high level people.
Yeah.
Not these aren't gateway people. These are the decision makers,
All right.
right? And companies that we want to be working with, and they'll interview them in the podcast. And now we've got information. Now it's a win-win situation for everybody. We can put it on our website. We can put it on LinkedIn. The rest of our employees can share it, which we do. That helps to promote. It up levels the entire company, and it gets us that engagement with that decision maker. So lots of different ways that you can. Um, Ask your marketing department to help you in creating, or at least creating content for you that you can share.
Yeah, I think one of the things we screw up all the time in sales is we
Yeah.
say marketing sucks, right?
Yeah.
Marketing's not doing their job, but we don't give
Yeah.
them the content that we're getting from the field. So they're
Yeah.
left to have discussions with like our customer success team,
Right. Right.
right? And that's
Exactly.
already a buyer.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And they're
Uh,
leaving out you. You're the middleman that's probably the most important to the whole, success of your company. And yeah, you're being left out of it. And it's because sales and marketing don't talk to each other. I mean, heck, your buyer personas are usually different.
yeah.
So it's so important just to start that conversation, even if you just can find one person in your marketing department who's willing to have that conversation with you. And then you lead the program. You might end up being the thought leader for your company in that whole program.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little more. Let's talk about
Yeah,
thought leadership, right? That's a
yeah,
great segue. Probably
yeah.
not intentional, but it worked out fantastic.
Excellent.
So talk to me a little bit. One of the things we hear, so
Yeah.
I've updated my profile.
Yep.
I'm punching marketing a little bit over here,
Yeah. Yeah.
saying, come on, give me some stuff,
Yeah.
right? Now, talk to me about the actual act of using social or trying to engage in digital sellings. And we
Yeah.
can start wherever you want, but I mean, talk
Yeah,
to me a little bit how you do that.
perfect. Yeah, in fact, I'm working with Oracle right now with a specific sales team, and first of all, it was the blank stares, like I don't even know what you're talking about. So,
Yeah.
what we ended up doing with them is I got the lead of the team to kind of buy into the prospect, or the project or the process rather.
Yeah.
So, what we had him do was create a list of questions that they generally get asked, and they work a lot with in the MySQL space, MySQL space, and they work a lot with the engineers. So
Yeah.
the questions are very technical. I mean, very. You and I are like going to read that article and go, "What?"
Yeah.
But if the right prospect, because remember, know your audience. So
Yeah.
but the right prospect, the engineer who's reading that is going, yeah, okay, that's exactly. I had that question the other day. Why does that happen? So they wrote up some articles around that, and then they started just testing out publisher versus video versus updates versus
Hmm.
long form updates. And so actually, they are having the most success with the long form updates. And all that is when you share an update on LinkedIn, you can now share up to 1,300 characters.
Yeah.
So taking like a mini blog post, popping it in there, no visuals, right? And
Okay.
then they'll put a link in the comment below. So they'll do that. They'll create that content first, and then we created what I call a content hub or sharing hub on LinkedIn, and it's simply when you go into messaging. You
Hmm.
might not know this, but when you go into messaging, you probably know this, but people
I may
listening
not.
might not know this. When you go into messaging, you can create like a group of people. And
Hmm.
so you just literally start typing in, your colleagues' names or whoever it is that you want to have you help share this content. So in this case, all the team members got on this sharing hub. We literally named it the MySQL Content Sharing Hub. It just stays in their messaging box, and then when you had an article, or when they had an article that they wanted to share, or they had a post that they wanted to share, they just grabbed the link to the post. So once you share an update or a post, there's three
Hmm.
little dots. So if you click on those three little dots, you can get the URL. And they said, hey, I just shared this update about sequencing and how to do it. I'm totally making that
Right.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And would love for you guys to share this. Can you speak to this, this, and that? And so then everyone else who would get an update from LinkedIn, they would go to their inbox, they would click on the link, it would pull up on LinkedIn, and then they would like it and share it, or like it and comment on it,
Hmm.
just to drive that visibility. Because with LinkedIn's algorithm, especially when you first post something, if it gets more engagement, then LinkedIn goes, oh, okay, this might be a good post, and then they kind of bump it up in the algorithm, so it gets even more and more engagement. Long story short, and I mean, I right before our call together, I was kind of checking out what was happening, and one of the women said, hey, Sarah said, I just posted this update, I can't believe it, it's got over 940 views. Now this is very technical, kind of dry stuff
Right. Right.
for most of us. 940 views, and she looked, you can actually see who's liked your content, and she said there were a bunch of SVPs, and so
Yeah.
there's like the right people were looking at her content, so that is huge. And it takes, no lie, like 5 minutes. So if you've got someone on your team who's feeding you the right types of content to share, or if you're like, yep, you know what, I am all over this, I'm going to start writing this stuff because my marketing team's going to take forever,
Right.
then you can write the content and share it. But those long form updates, just going onto your homepage, clicking on the share an update, and then just using as much as those 1,300 characters as possible to describe an event, a product, a service, an experience, whatever it is that that your audience is going to be interested in.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So salespeople a lot of times are somewhat, they like to think they're rogue, even if they're not. We
Yeah.
won't get into that right now, but we definitely have this independent streak because of
Yeah.
we want to compete. We want
Yeah.
to beat the gal or the guy next to us,
Yeah.
all this stuff. But I'd love for you to dig into real quick. You talked to the thought leadership and the LinkedIn algorithm,
Yeah.
because I believe there's some stuff with how fast it's got to get some traction in order for it
Yeah.
to make sense. And is there a good
Yeah.
reason why I work with my team doing this as you set up versus just launching the stuff myself?
Right, exactly. Well, think about it. The whole reason for LinkedIn and all social, marketing networks is because it's a social network. So if you just share the stuff, then your however many 500 plus connections, 500 to however many connections you have are going to see
Right.
it. Suddenly your team member shares it and they've got a network maybe different from yours that sees it, and then their network sees it, and their network sees it, and their network sees it. So it's a straight line if you're the only one sharing it, pretty much.
Right.
And you're going to get a lot less engagement than if you start getting the rest of your team sharing your content too. And all right, so maybe have your inside salesperson share it for you, right? So
Right.
like if you don't want your colleague to share it, if you want to be rogue and keep it separate from them, then find someone else who's active on LinkedIn. That's kind of key, but who's active on LinkedIn, has an active network on LinkedIn. Find someone else that you can ask to share it for you. It might be a colleague in a different industry at a different company that doesn't sell a competing product. There's just look at your connections on LinkedIn and find some people and have a conversation and say, hey, let's do this for each other. Um, in fact, there's a statistic that when a company shares an update, if it can get even 10% of its employees, I'm kind of making this up, but I do remember seeing these numbers to engage on it, to advocate on that, it will increase the visibility like 25 times. So
Hmm.
it could be pretty significant. So if you're getting
Yeah.
100 views on your company page, just think about those 25 times 100. Think about that kind of visibility. And so it's the same thing with us. If we share one update just in our line, yeah, and I've got
Right.
30,000 followers, right? But I might still only get 500 or 600 people look at it. But suddenly I get the rest of my team members
Yeah.
sharing it, and we're talking, thousands, if not, Mario gets 10, 15, 50, 100,000 views sometimes. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the things we have to be comfortable with in the space. And one of your pieces of advice, which I thought was great, was maybe we have complementary industries,
Yeah.
salespeople we send business to, send business to
Yeah.
us. And one of the ways I've seen that work is send them a message if you don't have your own hub set up, which is a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Tag them in the message.
Yep.
There's a
Yeah.
bunch of different ways, but I think they've got to be quick on it. Let's make sure that you actually get the distribution.
Yeah.
That's good for everybody.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so a couple things that can help to get you more visibility. Tagging influencers or tagging other people on LinkedIn. And what's cool is they don't have to be first level connections. Don't tag someone that has nothing to do with the article. I mean,
Right.
just so you can get them to look at it. That's kind of skeezy. But as long as
Yeah.
someone is aligned or is your perfect prospect or would be interested in the article, you can tag them. You don't want like 50 people. That looks bad too. But a couple key people. And to that point, I don't have it yet. It's driving me insane. But on the mobile device, LinkedIn has a new artificial intelligence feature, and it's a little magnet.
Yeah.
And so when you write your article, and Mario might have talked about this, but when you write your article on LinkedIn and you click on that little magnet, it actually goes through people's skills. It's crazy, right? It looks at your
Yeah.
article, it looks at keywords in your article, it looks at the entire LinkedIn database and the skills that people have, and will actually suggest people for you to tag who,
Hmm.
right? And sometimes it's competitors, so you don't. But it's amazing. It's a cool little piece of technology. So I hope they make it available to everyone soon. The other thing is hashtags. I mean, hashtags were a thing, and then they weren't, and then they were, and then they weren't. Well, they are again. And so I recommend doing two types of hashtags.
Yeah.
Which is putting the number sign in front of a word. But do a hashtag that is relevant to your industry or your company, or to your product or service. So
Yeah.
hashtag social selling,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then do a hashtag that's unique to you. And the reason for that is when you search on that hashtag, all of your articles will show up. So they tend to drop off after
Right.
about 30 days, and then you lose them unless you've saved them in a folder somewhere. You'll lose that article or that video or that long form post. But not your publisher post, but your long form update, you'll lose those forever. So if you use the
Hmm.
special hashtag, like ours is hashtag GoVengresso. So when I hashtag GoVengresso, I can see all of our content past 30 days. So if I ever need to find a piece of content to share, boom, it's there. So that's my little hashtag strategy.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because they've been a thing, they weren't a thing, they are a thing. I
Yeah,
gotta tell you, I'm confused. Like every third one, I put something in, then I don't, then I do because I don't know what I'm supposed
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they're a thing again. Don't be this person though. The person who like just puts the link to the article and 50 hashtags and there's no content at all. There's no description of the article. There's no reason for you to read. Oh my God, that drives me insane. So if you're gonna share an article, make sure to, or a link to somewhere, make sure to describe what that link is and why people should read it, and even ask a question and ask them to answer it in comments below. The more engagement you can get, the more it gets lifted in the algorithm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about this. We've talked around, we've made
Yeah.
fun of kind of ourselves and anybody else that was, watching this.
Yeah.
What are the big, we've talked about a few mistakes, but what are like the
Yeah.
three biggest mistakes that you see repeatedly when you're training people?
Yeah. And we're salespeople. So, of
Yeah.
course, we're on LinkedIn to sell. But we
Yeah.
have to think about LinkedIn as a relationship so that you can sell something. If you go in, oh my God, okay, so this one. Um, Hi, Viveka. I'd love to connect on LinkedIn. We know four people in common, and we went to the same college. So I'm like, okay, sure, I'll accept your invitation. Hey, buy my stuff. And then the very next message is buy my stuff. Or my favorite one is, dear sir, um, we would like to help you with your lead generation on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. So it's all about building relationships. So yes, you do want to customize your invitation to connect on LinkedIn, but you want it to be somewhat authentic. And hey, if the number of connections and where you went to school is the only thing you have in common, then so be it. But I would recommend reading through the profile of the person that you want to connect with, and pulling something out and commenting on it in the invitation to connect. Never ever sell in the invitation to connect. And you know what? Maybe hold off a little bit. And when the person accepts and you follow up with a thank you message, you give them a resource, you just thank them, you do something that's not a sales pitch, so
Right.
that eventually you get to the place where, because now they're connected to you, right? So they're going to see, some of your feed. They're not going to see all of it, but when you show up on their timeline, they see it. And so now you can start to build that top of mind awareness with them, so that when you do go in and say, hey, I noticed that you had, this issue, or you mentioned this issue, or that your company has this issue, we actually have the solution. Or people in your industry, your title, often have this frustration. In fact, my clients ask me this question all the
Yeah.
time. Because I answer that question all the time, I ended up writing an article about it. You might want to read it here. So it's a give. You want to go for the give before you go for the ask. So that's the main thing. Like, get their gender right. um,
Yeah.
Dear sir.
First.
And there's a lot of gamification on LinkedIn. There's a lot of third party apps out there. And a lot of people think it's like, get as many connections as possible. From a person who's 30,000 connections and spends over $500 a month on my assistant deleting people so that I can accept new people in, I promise you it's not that great. If you have like under 15,000, and really I think the sweet spot somewhere between 3 and maybe 7,000 people,
Yeah.
you have definitely a big enough network to be visible on LinkedIn, to be connected to the right people, but it's not completely overwhelming. So I am not a fan of these gamification, automatic invitation type tools out there. I think if you want to connect with someone, do them the respect of actually looking at their profile first. And so when you invite them to connect, customize that invitation, and then try to build a relationship before you try to sell them on something.
Perfect. Yeah, I think this goes to, we had John Barrows on the other day, and he said, yeah, there's no such thing as
Yeah.
mass personalization.
No,
Right.
dear quarter sign, first name, quarter sign. It's just
Yes.
like, oops.
Yes, it's tough, but
We've all done it.
I'm a testament to this because I follow Vengresso and the work you all do, and I can tell you this. I mean, a lot of this summit and the relationships
Yeah.
I've gotten with some of the best authors, coaches, and consultants
Yeah.
from all over the world came via building the relationship through LinkedIn, other social media platforms. So
Yeah.
I think the thing that really does get missed by many is that it is you can build a relationship.
You really. Yeah.
I literally talked
Yeah.
to somebody yesterday, no, two
Yeah.
days ago, and I said, well, we'd like you in the summit. And
Mm.
I had heard in the past that he was somebody who, well, he'd have the certain parameters that he'd want to participate. And he
Right.
said, Ken, you've been such an ardent supporter of me through all social media. I'm just here to see how I can help you.
Nice. See?
You know, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, it opened up my eyes to the idea that
Yeah.
you can build those relationships. That's
Yeah.
the advice you're giving is just fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So tell me, so as we start to wind down
Yeah.
a little bit here, tell
Yeah.
me, if I'm gonna turn off this interview and I get sidetracked and I have no opportunity to
Right.
watch anything else that happens in this summit, what are the things I should be going to do today? We've talked about some of them, but if
Yeah.
you were gonna give me a top hit list, what are the top 1, 2, 3, 5 things that you'd say, go do this and this will make an impact?
Yeah. So very easily upload a recent picture of yourself and change that professional headline. I mean, those two
Mhm.
things will take you under like 5 minutes. Um, Email your marketing department if you have one, or get on Fiverr. That'll take you another 5 minutes, and get that background image. And, if you even just leave it at that, I would love to see you with a beautiful summary section, but I get a lot of you aren't going to do it. So if you even just do that and then go to your website, find some content. Find content that you can upload into your profile, videos, testimonials, blog posts, white sheets, whatever it is that you can upload on your profile. But also go to your company page if it has a blog, and find some content there that you can start sharing. And just know, I meant to mention this earlier, the more you share on LinkedIn, the more your profile pops up, the more visible you become. So I'm not saying go crazy. You don't have to share 15 articles a day on LinkedIn. I mean, I do, but you don't have to do that. One or two a day is absolutely fine. Like I said, you can go to your company's blog post as long as it's relevant. You can absolutely share content from a year ago as long as
Right.
it's relevant, right? Your company, your LinkedIn company page, if they have one. If not, call us.
Yeah.
You can go to things like, I think Technorati is still a thing. You can go and Google. For your industry and see who's writing about your industry. Obviously, you probably don't want to share something from a competitor, but if there's a nice neutral third party that you can share some content, so start researching, seeing where you can find content to share. But look at your own timeline. I mean,
Right.
you might be connected to people who are sharing content that you can very well share, and then it's a win-win situation. So look at your own timeline and see what's in there that you can share, but take 5 minutes a day, and share a piece of content on LinkedIn. I mean, we're looking at a time, like a 20-minute investment if you just topically do what I just mentioned. And then the other thing I'd ask you to do is please look at your inbox, your invitations in your inbox, because I can't tell you how many professionals I've worked with that they literally have money sitting in their inbox, right? They have people inviting them to connect who are prospects who they've been trying to get in touch with, and they've invited them to connect, and they just never looked at their
Hmm.
inbox. They're like, I don't want to deal with that. There's over 1,000. You might need to hire someone to go through it for you. Like, whatever. Look at your inbox. Look and see if you've got business just sitting there waiting for you. I had on Sunday, I turned on my notifications. Turn on your notifications for your email. I got a notification from a law firm saying, "Hey, do you do LinkedIn prospecting?" I'm like, yeah. And, can you help us? And so that was through LinkedIn, and I just sent them a calendar link, and we've got some time set up for Friday. So there we go. And I was watching something on Netflix when that happened. So
So what you're saying is I can watch Netflix and still get some business
and
done.
still have the business coming in.
So there's hope for you as a world-class salesperson yet.
Indeed.
So that's fantastic. Well, Viveka von Rosen, tell us the last question I have for you. So if somebody wants to find out more about you, tell us where they can find that.
Sure. Well, fortunately, I have the LinkedIn handle, LinkedIn Expert. So if you literally Google LinkedIn Expert, my profile will show up first. Please feel free to reach out and connect with me. I am at my limit. So just customize the invitation and just say, hey, I heard you on the summit, would love to connect. And then I'll totally like throw somebody out so I can get you in.
Somebody who's
Uh,
family,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Viveka at vengresso.com. You can go to vengresso.com. You can see how to spell it back there.
Yep.
And yeah, you can always reach out to me there with any questions that you have. I'm LinkedIn Expert on Twitter. I'm LinkedIn Expert on YouTube. I'm LinkedIn Expert on Instagram, but I don't use Instagram, so don't find me there.
Well, you can find you there, but there will be no
Well,
contact.
you can find me there, but I'm not going to respond. Yeah.
It's okay. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to
Sure.
do this and contribute. I know that people are going to go out and they're absolutely going to make an impact on their quota this year based on this advice. And
That's
now
the whole
we know
point.
for certain why LinkedIn calls you when they need someone to tell them how to do social selling. So, Viveka von Rosen, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks.